So that's the day my parents were taken, rounded up and taken to what they call the Velodrome in Paris. And after that, I think it was called Drancy, the place in Paris. After that, I never saw them again. And nobody ever sat down and explained what had happened that day, because there was nobody left to explain. The police don't tell you. The SS don't tell you. And Madame Colomb didn't know either. And she risked her life, her daughter's and her father's. She sent her father and her daughter out to the Butte de Chaumont, which is just up the road from Belleville where I lived. And they could have been killed had they been caught. Had she been suspected of anything untoward, they would have all been killed. That's for sure. So she, in effect, saved me, saved my life, and saved, somebody who, I didn't know how she knew me so well, but I used to play with her daughter Paula. That's the only link I remember with Madame Colomb. She had a daughter the same age as me. So that was the episode of that particular horrible day in August. And my birthday's on July the 23rd. And just before that, we'd all been to a studio, probably for my 6th birthday, to have a photograph taken with my parents. And I have it. And it's written, the date and the Paris studio, arrondissement 20. So I have a very nice picture of that occasion on my 6th birthday. And after that, Madame Colomb used to let me come out from under the table very occasionally, only to use the toilet. And occasionally she'd put dusters on my feet so that I wouldn't make a sound on the ceiling for the person below. Everything had to be quiet. Even now I can't stand, this is a lot of people for me. And I just had to be all the time, quiet. Don't talk, don't make a sound, don't do anything. Just stay underneath the cover. And I used to have horrible nightmares. I don't remember sleeping properly. But the nightmares were awful, and I was always on a runaway train. I don't know why. A train that, it was like a helter-skelter, but it was a train, and there was no controlling it. It was totally out of control. The nightmares were so awful. However, they passed because Madame Colomb then took me on a train. She and I went on a train, I don't know how. And we went to a place called Mont-Doubleau, and I was destined to go to a home for wayward girls and boys. And I wasn't one of those. I was an orphan. And I suppose she thought, well, no, that's not. And I think she placed me with a family called Guillaume, who had a lot of children of their own, and one more didn't seem to make a heck of a difference. But I was hidden and I couldn't do anything or go anywhere. I had to stay indoors, and I called myself Cinderella. I was always asked, only 6.5 by this time, asked to clean out the ashes. And I knew the story of Cendrillon. And it was just awful. And the man of the house, he wasn't anything different really, but he was just a drunk. And occasionally he came in already drunk, and you say, "Où le vin?" Where's the wine? And I say, "Well, c'est pas, it's in the cupboard." And he took a bottle one day, and it was vinegar. So I got it. He took off his belt, and he went smack, and he opened my eye here, and it was just awful. So it's another thing you have to put up with. You just get on with it. You don't cry. There's nobody to cry to. There's nobody to tell. Doesn't matter. Just get on with it. And I remember them saying, "Oh, kick her out." And so I went to another family in the same road called Baronnet, and they took me in. No, it wasn't. It was Guillaume, I'm sorry. Madame Guillaume and Monsieur Guillaume took me in, and I lived there in hiding. The first family were called Gersht. I want to forget their name, and I did. Guillaume were the second family who took me in, so I didn't go to school. I just had to stay put in hiding, not talk to anyone. There was nobody. There wasn't a cat or a dog. There were some chickens that I used to go and sort of fondle, but they were covered in this white. They looked like fleas, but they weren't. On a chicken is different kind of animal. Not very nice. White. They're white. And they were, so occasionally I had to go and have a dip in the rain butt, which they kept at the back. When it rained, the butt filled up. And then when the sun shone, it warmed it up a bit. So to jump in this freezing cold butt of water, that was your bath. And you just amused yourself, you know. And Monsieur Guillaume used to grow tobacco in his little patch at the back where I was. And I used to help him pick it, and then we had to thread it through some string and hang it to dry. And when it was dry, then we rolled it and cut it so that you could dry it. I mean, I learned things. I didn't go to school, but I learned other things, which were probably more useful. Some of them not. I never heard any, as far as I know, bad language but I was very streetwise. I don't know how. However, that was the second hiding place, and then Madame Guillaume decided that she'd had enough. She said, I'm an old lady, can't look after a child, which wasn't the truth, but I suppose I was a bit difficult. I don't know. Because you don't know yourself, you can't see yourself reflected anywhere. You don't know if you have bad behavior or not. I thought I was good because I didn't make any fuss. And I didn't talk. That's probably why. If you don't talk, you don't communicate. So she didn't know anything about me. However, 2 men came along. One was a priest, I know for sure, and I was then taken again by train on such a long journey because I'd been in the Loire Valley, which is just southwest of Paris, and I was taken to the Auvergne, which is really, 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 really south, and in the central, it's a national park, the Auvergne, and I was in a little tiny hamlet called Les Perros. I don't know how I got there. I remember a train journey, but the rest I don't know. They didn't have cars. They had maybe there was a bicycle somewhere. I can't ride a bicycle, but I don't know how. I think it was by bullock cart that I managed to get from wherever I'd been taken to this farm, and the farm was in the middle of nowhere. And that in hiding was really, really hard because this lady was probably a widow. She wasn't old, but she looked like an old lady to a child. She was dressed all in black. She looked rather like a little witch. And she was bent over quite badly because she must have had bad arthritis. And always had to have a bag. You've seen them in pictures. An old lady bent over with a big bundle of sticks on her back. You know, really hard-working lady. And that's what she used to have to go and do every day, gather wood for the fire. Because there was no coal, there was no electric, there was no water. You can't put a switch on like you can now. You can't turn a tap because there wasn't one. You can't go out and get the coal because there wasn't any. No radio, no papers, nothing. No communication at all, nothing. No street lights, everything. You go to bed with the sun. You get up with the sun. Every drop of water you need, you carry it from the source, the little well, which was a long way away. I was the carrier, and she made me, you put it on animals when they're side by side to keep them together. It's a harness of some kind. And she formed, maybe it had belonged to an animal. It sits around your neck, and you're able to balance 2 pails on each side. to balance you so that it makes it easier to carry. And that's how I used to fetch water. Fill one bucket, set it down, fill the other bucket, set it down, and then lift. I'm so strong. And carry it home, and that's what you used for your... And the animals had to drink. And the animals came first, always.